Planting moves along as we pick up some much needed rain. Certainly feels good, but this growing season starts with a high degree of uncertainty on a number of fronts. We will look at the economic impact of planting corn in Nebraska, try to get a sense of just how big of an economic infusion it is. Plus, we still don't have a farm bill. We'll get the latest. Later, he's one of the biggest champions of sorghum. We'll visit with a Southwest Nebraska farmer about Milo. And there's an effort to make positive inroads with new trade opportunities for beef producers to Africa. It's time to grow. Nebraska farmers spend billions hidden in plain sight, invested in the ground. I'm Steve White. $3.1 billion simply to start a crop this year. Enough to buy every man, woman, and child in Nebraska a new iPhone. That's the kind of money it takes to plant corn. It's go time as Jason Lewis has the best seat in the house.
You spend a lot of time trying to get everything to work, and then you just go out there and it's a leap of faith.
Faith the investment he's making will pay off. That includes the herbicide he's spraying, plus costly inputs like seed and fertilizer.
And then fuel to make everything run.
Collectively, the Nebraska Corn Board estimates it adds up to $3.1 billion just to plant corn. For that kind of money, every Nebraskan could go to the state fair 135 times.
Thank you very much. Enjoy.
Fried Oreos not included. Or put another way, you could buy every Nebraskan 160 runzas with frings and a drink. It's no small chunk of change just to plant corn. And this year brings more uncertainty than most.
We're putting this stuff in. We're not going to, see a payoff until harvest. That uncertainty, I think, makes everyone a little bit uneasy.
Further impacted by the president's aggressive trade agenda, Lewis is a board member for the National Corn Growers, a group that says farmers need reliable markets for the corn they're planting now.
I think a lot of growers would say, we really haven't had free trade, so we'd really like to have fair trade and get rid of some of those, opposing tariffs that are on there. And if that can happen, I think that's the positive outlook, that maybe if there is some pain, maybe we do get some payoff later.
Old crop corn prices are up a little, but new crop prices could put the squeeze on growers as Jason hopes to find opportunities to make a little money.
Know where your break-even's at, be able to pull that trigger when you need to make those sales.
Based on USDA estimates, Nebraska growers will plant 10.6 million acres in about 2 months' time. Those are big numbers, but Jason Lewis tries to focus on his small part in it.
Do what you can and worry about what you can worry about, and the rest of it you can't worry about because you can't affect it anyway.
And an important reminder this time of year, you may share the road with slow-moving vehicles in rural areas, so take time for safety. Prior to the rain, producers making some good progress with planting. The most recent crop progress report shows 5% of corn has been planted. That's slightly ahead of pace. Soybeans at 2%, just above average. Moisture continues to be a concern. Just 22% of topsoil has adequate moisture, and subsoil faring slightly worse. USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey provides additional insight into a series of storms this week, bringing much needed rain to places like the plains, experiencing dry conditions for crops and pastures.
About the only area of the central and eastern United States that will miss out on this will be Florida, perhaps extending a little bit north into South Georgia. Everybody else looking for some rain at some point this week. With the highest totals, generally 1 to 3 inches with some locally higher values, again, extending from that central and southern Great Plains through the lower Midwest and into the Northeast. Now that, of course, encompasses some of our driest areas there in places like Texas, and also could reach as far north as our dry areas of Nebraska and South Dakota. In all three of those states, at least 1/3 third of the winter wheat crop was rated in very poor to poor condition on the USDA NASS report on April 20th. So the timeliness of this rainfall cannot be overstated. The crop is not yet heading in Nebraska nor in South Dakota, and this rain is perfect timing for helping to turn the corner on this crop if and when that rainfall does occur.
Nebraska farmers sound the alarm on taxes. I'm Steve White in Lincoln, where Nebraska Farm Bureau joined by both of the state's U.S. senators calling for an extension of the Trump tax cuts.
We're here today to talk about the need to renew billions of dollars of tax savings.
A battle brews over the future of the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, set to expire this year. Farmers warn it's a looming cliff.
We knew this cliff was coming. They weren't permanent, and so now we are here. And so we're really raising the flag and saying, okay, hey, we have to get this done.
With much of the value of a farm tied up in land and equipment, U.S. senators joined Farm Bureau to support extending provisions that raise the threshold before a farm family pays the estate tax,
thus making it easier to pass along that family farm or ranch to the next generation.
We would hate to see the farm split up because we can't afford the taxes, and that is a real possibility if we don't get this extended.
These senators argued the Trump tax cuts have fueled bigger paychecks and business growth.
Americans would see a $4 trillion tax increase in 2026. The average family of four, that makes $80,000 a year, would see a $1,700 tax increase. And we would see the child tax credit decrease by $1,000 per child.
But not everyone agrees. Some policy groups argue tax cuts paired with tariffs and budget cuts disproportionately benefit the wealthy while hurting working families. One federal report estimates the cost of tax cuts at $4.2 trillion. Mark McCarg, a fourth-generation farmer, says with wheat crop prices and uncertainty on a number of fronts, tax policy could bring benefits to rural America.
This is important. If we revert back to pre-2017, it's going to really be painful.
The USDA enters the thorny debate over immigration. Ag Secretary Brooke Rollins has directed the agency to enhance identity and immigration verification when determining if someone is eligible for SNAP. The USDA claims $10 billion in improper SNAP payments were made in 2023, which was about 12% of total payments. Tariffs continue to dominate discussions at the national level, but lost in that debate, we still need a farm bill. Congressman G.T. Thompson chairs the House Ag Committee, and our sister station in Pennsylvania has more.
As time goes on, local farmers are asking for support from lawmakers to navigate challenges posed by new tariffs. Congressman Glenn Thompson met with farmers and agriculture experts and said he is supporting a new farm bill that will help farmers.
And it's important that we do this farm bill sooner than later. So we're in communications now with not just bringing the House to the table, but the Senate and also the White House. And so it is really important that we do this.
Kyle's in later with a check on the drought monitor. Up next, a champion for all things sorghum. We talk with a Southwest Nebraska farmer about why Milo makes sense. To sorghum, Mike Baker goes above and beyond as a champion for this crop. I'm Steve White. Mike Baker from Trenton, past member of the Nebraska Checkoff Board on the sorghum side. You've been an advocate for sorghum for a long time, served on that board for a long time. Sorghum, what is it you like about including that?
You know, I've been an advocate for, been on the board for 10, 12 years here now, even longer than that, since agriculture in general. But what do I like about sorghum? You know, it's the versatile crop. It can do everything for me. It's great for no-till situations, water management, controlling the soil from moving when you have a drought tolerance, or drought year anyway, and just it always produces, always yields, and doesn't really let you down.
Just agronomically, how does that kind of fit in, and how does it compare to some of the other things you're doing?
You know, it fits in great, rotational crop. Obviously in southwest Nebraska, we are the arid part of the state, which I'd consider anyway. So we would grow a lot of wheat, followed by the grain sorghum, and like to follow the grain sorghum with some continuous crop corn behind that, and usually a fallow year in there. And just rotationally wise, they all seem to benefit from each other, and it works out well.
Sorghum, though, you guys are kind of the underdogs. You don't necessarily have the resources behind you, but do you feel like there's continual momentum just to continue to build things?
I think that it's always an uphill battle for agriculture, not only just sorghum in general, but for the sorghum itself, it's honestly the sky's the limit. I first got on the board, 10, 12 years ago, and boy, I thought, man, this ship is going down. And progressively since then, since 2010 thereabouts, it just every year it seems to get better. Like we always have ups and downs, but the outlook for long term is good.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at just globally what it means, I mean, yeah, there's going to be some in-market situations that are maybe challenging from time to time, but in a growing population, when you're producing something that can be a food crop, it's non-GMO, the gluten-free, do you see where there's maybe some upsides here?
Definitely the niche sides. I say the food market. There's a lot of people who are gluten intolerant, have celiac disease and what have you. And it's honestly a great, I'd say a cheap filler for that industry. And people are starting to find more out about it, and it going that way.
Yeah, so when we're looking at something that's maybe a little more drought tolerant, takes a little less water, maybe a little less on the input side, some intriguing market possibilities down the road, just big picture, you're a guy who's bullish on the future of sorghum then.
I say you can't not be bullish or you wouldn't be doing it. So I do think, 10, 12 years down the road here, it's, like I said, the ceiling's honestly the limit.
It's one of these things, though, it doesn't happen overnight. It's years and years of work, and you're probably standing on the shoulders of others who've come before you to kind of, build things up.
Yep, it's the people before me, and honestly, I just got off the checkoff board here last July, and the board makeup we have that focus on education, utilization, and marketing is a great board, and I think they'll do a wonderful job.
New trade opportunities await in Africa, and beef producers work to build relationships. The U.S. Meat Export Federation hosted a 2-day trade seminar in Ghana, bringing together some 30 U.S. red meat exporters with 76 buyers from 12 African nations. Importers and exporters held direct meetings, heard presentations from USMEF and USDA leaders, as well as representatives of the U.S. cattle industry and successful African meat businesses. They also toured retail stores and cold storage facilities. According to USMEF President and CEO Dan Holstrom, Africa was targeted because of its critical role in the U.S. industry's efforts to expand and diversify global markets.
We're on the cusp of new business with beef variety meats in particular coming into this region regularly. But it's time to take the next step and get aggressive and really tell our story in these countries. And, a lot of the business starts with variety meats in these regions, but the real goal is to get the muscle cuts, whether it's beef muscle cuts or pork primal cuts like spare ribs, for example.
Africa has an emerging and rapidly growing middle class, which is ready to spend more money on better experiences, according to USMEF. That provides opportunities for the U.S. red meat industry to grow exports beyond variety meats to many parts of Africa. The executive director of the Oklahoma Beef Council, who previously served in the Peace Corps in West Africa, says the potential for U.S. beef exports to the region extends beyond variety meats.
I would want U.S. beef producers to understand that there is a wide level of demographics here. And so there's obviously a foundational need for our beef variety meats, but there's also just across the quality grade is an opportunity to move U.S. beef into this market. And then everything from hotel restaurants where there is a big tourist, there's a big convention. I mean, we've been here at the Labadi Beach Hotel at this conference center. There's been multiple conferences with individuals coming in across Africa for conferences. So that means there's more opportunity from the hotel restaurant standpoint for U.S. beef. So there's so much opportunity here in Africa.
Our Grow Weather Outlook is next.
Well, this week's drought monitor is now out, and of course, as you can imagine, it's still pretty dry here across the area. Now, keep in mind, we did have some rain towards the latter half of this past week. Unfortunately, that won't be accounted in this week's report, but stay tuned next week. Those numbers could be looking a little bit better across both Nebraska and Kansas. So, moving to Kansas currently, we have it. no drought now stands at roughly 19% of the state there. Abnormally dry accounts for the other 81%, actually a 3% improvement for both of those categories. And actually most categories did improve in Kansas this past week. Moderate drought, roughly 63.75% in that category, a 2% improvement there. And severe drought, just roughly 2/3 of a percentage point there in the southwesternmost part of Kansas. And again, about a 1.5% improvement compared to last week's report. And good news is still no extreme or exceptional drought there. Moving up north to Nebraska, where we did have some slight deterioration from last week. And again, a lot unchanged though, really overall. No drought, roughly 2.5%. Abnormally dry accounts for the other 97.5%, just a 0.25% reduction compared to last week's report. Moderate drought, about 90.33% in that category, roughly a 0.75% reduction compared to last week's report. Severe drought, roughly 34.2%, a 1% deterioration from last week. And extreme drought still stands at roughly 6% of the state there out in parts of the Panhandle. So still, we could certainly use a lot of rain out there. May temperatures, again, of course, May is coming up here before too long. Do have relatively above average temperatures expected for all of Nebraska and most of Kansas, maybe the easternmost sliver there of Kansas looking closer to normal. And as far as precipitation goes, northwestern parts of Nebraska maybe slightly below normal as far as totals are concerned, but the rest of Nebraska and Kansas looking to be pretty normal overall. Next 3 months, we're looking at relatively above average temperatures for all of Kansas, a good chunk of Nebraska. The only exception there, northeastern parts of Nebraska may be closer to normal. And as far as precipitation goes, the next 3 months, maybe not what we want to see here. Again, I think May will be pretty normal. However, June and July maybe looking to be pretty dry overall. That is the signs out there anyway. Well, Nebraska, most of Kansas expecting below normal precipitation totals. Otherwise, your Grow Almanac, the week, again, we get normal high right around 67 this time of year. Not too bad overall. 44 the overnight lows this time of year. And of course, running a little bit above normal this next week. 74 the average high, the average low right at 49. So starting the week off on a warmer note, temperatures in the 70s. And also keep an eye out eastern parts of the area. Maybe some showers and maybe some severe thunderstorms. Most of it probably going to miss us east, but temperatures are a little bit cooler towards the tail end of the week, although maybe warmer by Friday. Another chance of storms to keep an eye on Wednesday. Your Grow Proverb for the week ahead. We're dealing with both April and May this next week, so what better terminology than this? April and May are the keys of the year, and hopefully that is a premonition of things to come. Well, that is a check of your Grow Weather Report. Stay tuned next week when once again it'll be time to grow.
If you've got photos, we want to see them. Go to Nebraska.tv and chime in with your planting photos. It's time to get your passport stamped. We'll learn more about the 5th year of the Nebraska Beef Council passports when Grow returns. Beef is what's for dinner here in the beef state, and it's time to kick off the beef passports. Adam Wagner from the Nebraska Beef Council stopped by the Good Life Studios with this report.
This is the 5th year of the Beef Passport. Started in 2021. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, so the history on the Beef Passport, and it's very similar to the Nebraska Tourism Passport. There's a wine passport, a golf passport. Well, this is the Beef Passport, and we started it in 2021. If you remember, that was kind of a time we were coming out of the COVID pandemic and really trying to encourage people to go out and support local businesses, beef businesses that are out there, and just enjoy the really great beef that's offered throughout the state, whether it's at a restaurant or a small meat processor or a meat shop.
Yeah. How difficult was it a job to go out and find for this year's passport? Yeah,
well, there are a lot of options out there, and but it is kind of tough because there are some of these places that are somewhat hidden gems. So, in some cases, it's communities that you've maybe never visited, and so we started off by sort of asking around beef producers, hey, where do you go for a great steak or a great burger? And that's kind of how we got started. So each year we give away a $250 fresh beef bundle. And then because of our partnership with our friends at the meat processors, they also give an additional $250 beef bundle. So so really 2 grand prizes that get drawn from all the winners. And the more places you stop, the higher your chances are of winning. And what also is great about ours is that if you like the printed passports, you can print them right directly from the website. but we also really encourage people to use the mobile passport because then it's on the convenience of your phone. It's really simple when you stop in. You scan a QR code to collect your check-in, and it's that simple.
What's been the reaction from some of the recent, over the last 4 or 5 years, participants of being on the passport?
Well, the locations obviously love it because it's outside people coming into their community, and it's a little exposure for the service that they have or the products that they offer. People that are passport users really enjoy it because, like I said before, it gets them off the beaten path. Sometimes it takes them into a community that they've never been to before.
Like Unadilla. I've honestly never, I don't know if I've been there.
I've heard the word, the city name,
exactly.
MK Meats.
Yeah.
You know, and the thing that you were saying, Adam, I mean, you look at some of these and you haven't heard of them. So when you go there, like 321 Tavern in Lexington.
Yeah, they're really great, and they also have really unique things. So HF Crave in Lincoln is a burger place, and they fry all of their French fries and things with beef tallow. So it's a little bit unique, and it's a different thing that maybe you don't find everywhere else. But just there's all kinds of stories like that of these places on the passport. So it really gives people kind of a unique reason to go out and try different things.
I love it.
I'm hungry.
Big city, small town. You can't pass that. Okay, give us the website for more information.
Yeah, so if you want to get set up, go to goodlifegreatsteaks.org, or you can go to the Nebraska Beef Council Facebook page or website, and it's 2 clicks away, and you'll have it on your phone, or you'll have a print version that you can print off and get started on.